Well, hello all you wonderful people out there in YouTube land, and welcome to the Texas Special YouTube channel. For this HO scale product review, we're going to be taking a look at this Bachmann Rail Chief. Now, if you saw the preceding clip to this, you know that this was actually a birthday present for my son. We were able to pick this up at Hobby Lobby in Beaumont for $180. And I question how much of a bargain that is, but you know, it is what it is. He loves it. He's happy with it. Now, as you saw in the previous video clip, this was covered with a cellophane wrapper all the way around. Now, I am a little disappointed with Bachmann because when I was a kid and I got Bachmann train sets, the little windows here actually had cellophane wrappers attached to the inside of the box. That is no longer the case, as you can hear there. So once you remove the cellophane wrapper, if you get one of these sets or any Bachmann train set, you know, nowadays, once you remove the cellophane wrapper from the box, whether or not you keep the original box doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of difference, because there is no actual protection for the trains in the way of like plastic. With that being said, we're going to open this box up and take a look at everything that's in here. To do that, you hit this flat locking tab right here, pull out that tab, and then open up the box. And that will remove the two trays that are in this box. There is a plastic tray which contains obviously the trains. And a cardboard tray that contains your track and accessories. Also included in the set, obviously, is your packing list. This set comes with one HO scale GP40 diesel locomotive lettered for BNSF, one open quad hopper car lettered for Wisconsin Central, one HO scale 40-foot gondola decorated for Canadian National, one 50-foot steel refrigerated car, which can actually be used on the Stars Hollow Railroad, lettered for Burlington Northern, one off-center steel caboose, also decorated for BNSF to match the locomotive, a signal bridge kit, two bags of telephone poles, 12 per bag, two sets of railroad and street signs, 24 per bag, three racks of miniature people figures, 12 per rack, one 9-inch straight steel terminal / re-railer easy track section, one 9-inch straight steel easy track section, 12 18-inch radius curved steel easy track sections, one wall pack with speed controller transformer, and one set of instructions. Alright, so included in along with your list of contents is your instructions for the GP40 locomotive with an exploded parts diagram. The 1-year limited warranty paperwork. card you can fill out to get the current Bachmann or Williams by Bachmann catalog. Your instruction manual for the train set. More limited warranty paperwork and additional languages. And a information leaflet from theworldsgreatesthobby.com. Alright, now getting to the fun stuff. In the cardboard tray here you can see the 12 pieces of steel easy track, curved, 18-inch radius curved easy track stacked neatly here. You have the figures. They are unpainted, so if you use these, you're going to have to paint them yourself. The street signs and railroad signs, which some of these are actually going to end up being used on the Stars Hollow Railroad as well. Your telephone poles, which I think I'm missing one. And this is the signal bridge kit, which, yeah, that's going to be my wife's project. I ain't messing with that. Your easy track terminal and re-railer section, as well as the regular 9-inch straight piece of easy track, which is underneath that. Right here is your transformer, and this right here is the plug for the transformer, as well as the wire that runs from the transformer to the track. Okay, so if you are new to the hobby, if you're just getting your feet wet and you got either this or any other Bachmann set, this is how you assemble the track and wire the track, at least for the purposes of getting your train set running. Okay, so first step, your Bachmann Easy Track. Okay, it's a pretty good track system. I use it on the Stars Hollow Railroad. Most model railroaders don't use it for a permanent railroad, but it does just fine if you assemble it correctly. So you can see here there is a locking tab, and there's a little nub here. There's a little slot that this nub slides into on an adjacent piece of track, and this locking tab slides right here. So you get a good secure connection. Additionally, this little tab right here is a rail joiner that helps ensure electrical continuity throughout the circle of track. You'll notice there's one on this side, but not one on this side. There's a rail joiner on the opposite rail that slides into place over here. So, and the fact that they're offset like that allows you to arrange the tracks, particularly curves, in whatever arrangement you want without having to modify the track in any way. Take a second piece of track, slide them together, make sure that the rail joiners make sure that the rails actually go in the rail joiners. You want it to look like that one there, not like this one here. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but the rail is actually riding up over the top of the rail joiner. So we'll pull that apart, re-angle it a little bit, and there. We have a good connection. Both rails are in both rail joiners. And you can see there, the tabs and nubs are in the correct spot. And you have a good, solid connection. The track will not, under normal circumstances, with normal use, come apart. Now, the next step in getting your train set running, take this wire here, the red wire. It has a plug on one end, has a female plug on one end, and a male barrel jack plug on the other, similar to old school speakers and headphones. So, take the female end, you plug it in to these little silver nubs here on your terminal section, and if you have a different train set, it might be a curved re-railer / terminal section. It might have gray roadbed instead of black. Right here, it's very, very Barney style. You got an illustration of a piece of track and it says 2-track. Take the male end of the barrel jack plug and plug it in. On this right here, you see 1000 ohms or milliamps or whatever the heck that is. I'm not an electrician and I'm not pretending to be one either. Take this plug, plug that in. And then this, if you don't know what to do with this, you really probably shouldn't be playing with something like this. Once you have this plugged into an outlet, there will be power to this. Now this big knob is your throttle that controls your speed. The more you, all the way to the left is stop, no power applied to the rail. All the way to the right is full power. She's giving it everything she's got. You've got direction, all right? So depending on how you have that attached to the rail with regards to which is hot and which is positive and which is negative, that will determine which direction the locomotive actually goes. And then if you flip it the opposite direction, then obviously it's going to go the opposite direction. Pro tip, when you have this plugged in, if this plug is seated correctly and all the way, this little red dot here, that's actually an LED that will light up to show that there is actually power going to the transformer. This is a DC transformer, this is not a DCC transformer, just for clarification purposes. So if you put two locomotives on the same track, they will both respond at the same time in unison. Now, granted, with respect to gear ratios and things and such of that, one might be a little faster than the other, so that's just something to keep in mind. Also, this is not meant to power a permanent railroad of a decent size. This will get you by with this train set, obviously. It can easily handle one, maybe two, maybe three non-sound equipped locomotives. And we shouldn't have a problem powering your average 4-foot by 8-foot starter type railroad. But if you're going to go much bigger than that, I highly recommend, and anyone else that's been in this hobby for a hot minute and a half is going to highly recommend you upgrade to a bigger transformer at a minimum if you don't switch to DCC. Okay, now it's time for the fun part of this product review. This is probably the second most anticipated part of this product review. Looking at the trains themselves. We're going to start from the rear, work our way forward. Alright, so to start off with, the caboose. This is a generic Bachmann caboose. Bachmann has been putting out this offset steel cupola caboose for years, decades, and it is a mainstay among their train sets. And they're also available for separate sale. You have curved hand railings, grab irons here. You have the simulated steel welds in between the individual body panels of the caboose. The yellow trim between the black and orange could be done a little better. There is a little sloppiness there to it. The cast-on window frames do not have any glazing of any sort. You've got this toolbox here underneath the car. The steps are part of the car frame. You have these separately applied grab irons and handrails here on the rear and front of the caboose, as well as a cast-on marker light, non-operational of course, and a separately applied handbrake wheel, and Bachmann's plastic Easy Mate couplers. Now I will say that these Easy Mates are not the greatest things in the world. If you're getting this for someone, and in this case my son, and you happen to be a model railroader, which I am, these couplers will probably be swapped out for Katie's here before too much longer. Plastic free rolling wheels, which will at some point get switched out for metal ones. Body mounted couplers rather than your typical truck mounted for train sets. You've got the emergency and service reservoir here, the air piston here, and the triple valve right there, as well as some underframe detailing and some brake lines and rigging detailing. Looking at the top of this caboose, you can see the smoke jack or smokestack. You can see some cast-on grab irons here around the top of the cupola, and a cast-on brakeman's walkway. The 50-foot steel reefer is a mechanical reefer refrigerated boxcar. The lettering on this and the detailing is actually quite nicely done. All of the lettering on here is legible, even if you can't see it because my camera acts stupid sometimes. All of the car data is correct. You have these cast-on ladders here and one on the other side, cast-on stirrup steps. You have this black highlighting the cast-on ladders. Along the top you have a cast-on brakeman's walkway with grab irons that correspond to the full height ladders on the sides and rear of the car. Looking at the B end of the car there, you can see, I hope, I'm having trouble seeing my camera because the angle it's at. You can see the cast-on ladder, a waybill board, nice dreadnought ends, and the two steel panels of the rear of the car modeled nicely. And the underside of the car, rather, you can see again, I hope, I'm really having trouble seeing my screen because it's how high up I gotta have the camera for this. Emergency and service reservoir, you've got some of the brake line detailing, you've got your triple valve, you've got your air brake piston right there. You have these free rolling plastic wheels which will get switched out to metal ones. You have these Bachmann plastic Easy Mate couplers which will get switched out for Katie's at some point. So in overall, nicely done car for a train set type car. Next up is the 40-foot gondola decorated for the Canadian National. You can see some pretty good rivet detailing all throughout the sides of the car, designating the individual body panels of the car. You have these cast-on grab irons here, and also on this back corner right here in the same spot, you've got these cast-on stirrup steps. The lettering is nicely done, it's nice and neat, there's no sloppiness. The build date and everything, all the car data is legible. You have this full height ladder here, another ladder here, you have the polling pockets, which I don't believe that the reefer had. You have the, again, Bachmann Easy Mate couplers. Looking inside the car, you can see some minimalistic detail with respect to the center sill, some side frame supports, as well as rivet detail highlighting the individual panels of the floor of the car. If you look at the B end of the car, you can see a separately applied handbrake wheel, which is really the only separately applied detail on this car. And you have an emergency and service reservoir here, some air lines running to the triple valve, and an air line running to the brake piston, as well as some brake rigging detailing, and of course the underframe detailing and some very lightly done rivet detailing along the edge of the underside of the car. The Wisconsin Central quad hopper has some pretty good detailing. You've got a full height ladder and cast on stirrup steps that are part of the body. The lettering is very nicely done on this car as well. You have the WC 88811, all of the car data and weight and capacity information, to my knowledge, is correct. Loads of rivet detail stamped on the side of this thing, as well as on the bays on the underside of the car. Coming around to look at the B end, you can see a separately applied, I hope you can see it, a separately applied handbrake wheel and all the brake rigging. You got the brake piston, emergency and service reservoir, and triple valve sitting in this little nook right here. You have a full height ladder here. There is no brakeman's perch, however. The underside of the car, there's not really a whole lot going on, as I wouldn't have expected there to be. You have the plastic free rolling wheels, again, will be changed out to metal ones eventually. The body mounted knuckle couplers, which I neglected to mention, but both the reefer and the gondola also have those as well. And this car actually has a removable coal load. I'm not a real big fan of this coal load. It's a little too shiny for my taste, but it is easily removable. And if we look at the inside of the car, again, I'm hoping you can see it. If you can't, trust me, it's there. There's rivet detailing along the center sill of the car, as well as along the sloped ends of the interior of the sloped ends of the hopper car. And these little nubs here line up with the nubs on the inside of the hopper car body. I really hope this turned out good. And finally, the coup de grace, the piece de resistance. The fancy way of saying what you actually want to see. The EMD GP40, which will at some point get upgraded to DCC with sound. The hand railings are nicely done, albeit a little fragile. They do have the corresponding, or correction, the FRA mandated contrasting ends for the corners of the handrails as well as the edges of the steps on the Pilot. As you can see there, the steps on the Pilot are properly done for a GP40, in that it's not just one solid blob of plastic. It's actually individual steps with an actual shelf on the back side of it. Again, the yellow pinstriping on this engine could have been done a lot better. You can see there are places where it's thicker and thinner in some areas. It's a little bit transparent. It's not as opaque as I would prefer it to be. And the separation is kind of sloppy between the black and the orange. Now, I know there are some of you out there, some of you hardcore BN fans, saying, well, that's not orange, or that's not black, that's a dark green. No, ladies and gentlemen, on this locomotive it is straight black. They did not make any attempt to model the Great Northern version of dark green. The lettering is nicely done. The yellow pinstriping around the BNSF and the little wedge is actually done pretty nicely. It's just the pinstriping here, here, and here that's leaving a lot to be desired. You have the main reservoir here. The truck detailing is about what you would expect from a locomotive of this variety. with respect to cost and, you know, quality. You've got the 2 brake pistons per side frame per truck. You have the brake shoes, you have the journal bearings, you have everything except for the line going to the wire running to the speed recorder. You have a little bit of piping here and here. The walkways along the sides of the locomotive are smooth. There is no safety tread or slip resistant tread, whatever you'd like to call it. The engine does feature 8-wheel electrical pickup and traction. So all 8 wheels of the engine do pick up power and provide traction to move the thing. Pilot body mounted Easy Mate knuckle couplers, which I will give Bachmann their due. I don't know if you can see it, but instead of just a simple little plastic tab resting against the knuckle, there's actually a spring there very similar to a Katy. All these couplers are magnetically operated, by the way, so if you have uncoupling magnets on your railroad or you would like to add them, they are compatible. You have these cast-on grills all the way throughout the locomotive. They are cast on, they're not see-through. You have the GP40-2R. You have the F designating the front of the locomotive. Looking at the roof, you can see there's a cast-on exhaust stack, obviously non-operational. You have these cast-on fans. You have the 3 chime air horns, sand filling port, and there's supposed to be one here, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's a bad molding or what. And looking at the rear of the engine, you can see that there is details missing that should be there and would be there on a higher quality or higher cost model. You normally would have grab irons all the way up this side of the locomotive on the rear of the long hood. Those are not present. You do have an operating headlight and number boards which match the 3001 along the side of the cab. The hand railings on the rear pilot are all one-piece castings with the safety chain attached, and of course you have some pinstriping there. You have a coupler cut lever that's cast into the pilot itself, a footboard for the brakeman, and you have underneath here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but underneath the anti-climber of the locomotive you have the MU cable ports. And looking at the front of the locomotive, you can see there are windshield wipers cast on to all the cab glass. The cab does have window glazing and interior lighting. You have the headlight, you have the 3001 on the number boards, non-operating cast-on marker lights. Again, the BNSF looks good, but the yellow pinstriping here along the front could be done a little bit better. And the same single piece casting for the grab irons and hand railings and safety chain. And again, the MU ports for, well, MU cables. Easy Mate operating knuckle coupler and a footboard for the pilot and a cast-on uncoupling lever. While this is a self-contained train set that has everything you need to operate it with regard to track and power pack and whatnot, I am not going to run it on the track that it came with. Why would I do that when I have a full functioning layout to do that with? So we will watch. I'll get this guy out of the packaging. We'll throw it on the Stars Hollow Railroad and run it around those 18-inch radius curves and see how it does with the curves and the switches. Given that this is a conventional locomotive, that's going to make showing the directional lighting on this thing a little hard, because the lighting is only going to show up real bright at a higher throttle speed. So I'm going to be holding this thing in place so you can actually see the headlights and the number boards. I guess the number boards don't light up. So there's the front headlight going forward, as you can see there. And let me move the camera. And now the rear headlight. So there's the directional lighting. Now we'll take a look. We'll kill two birds with one stone. We'll see where this guy starts moving. About quarter throttle. I can hear the motor starting. Alright, so about a little better than 25% throttle on this MRC 1370. He starts moving. Creeping along nicely, very minimal noise from the motor. And we'll try it in forward. 25%, I can hear the motor trying. Alright, a little better than 25%, and you can see he is kind of jerky, but he's moving. So with that test out of the way, let's couple him up. Alright, we're off to the races. Let's see what full throttle for this GP40 looks like. Alright, so this is backed down to half throttle for obvious reasons. So for the purposes of today's product review, I will be running this guy through the siding to see how the locomotive and cars handle these Bachmann Easy Track switches. At half throttle, pretty good so far. By the way, I was mistaken and I apologize, but this thing does not have directional lighting. In either direction, all headlights come on, as you'll see here momentarily. If you've been watching the channel for a while, then you know when I review locomotives, I hook up the maximum amount of cars that a locomotive will pull on the Stars Hollow Railroad, not to exceed about 15 or so. I didn't do that with this review because I'm not reviewing a separate sail locomotive. I'm reviewing a train set. So I wanted to see how the locomotive and cars together ran on the Stars Hollow Railroad. So if any of you were wondering why this thing's not pulling a large train, well, for this railroad, large train, that's why. I'm reviewing a train set, not the locomotive. I hope y'all found this product review entertaining and informational. Hope you enjoyed it. I thank each and every one of you for the support you give the channel. Texas Special out.